temporary workers to come in for months at a time and then go back to their home countries. We've got to improve those programs as we work to implement E-Verify, secure the border, and funnel people through the legal process.
Should E-Verify be mandatory?
I think it should. But you can't just come in and just make it mandatory. You've got to make it mandatory while you're also helping to improve your guest worker program, because the current implementation of that program is flawed. And what it's going to do is it's going to force U.S. businesses to shut down, which loses U.S. jobs.
And documented guest workers will lose work.
Or you will further force some of these employers to go into the illegal side, which we obviously don't want to do.
Well, and you know, we like to talk, not the three of us in this room, but a lot of people like to talk in these absolutes. You know, we'll do it tomorrow. And you can't. You got to face it in. I'm wondering if we're going to find out with El Chapo and some of his associates that we need to, now that we're looking at the border seriously, that we also need to look more at our ports and our airports, particularly those in the southern tier, because it appears that the investigation is revealing that a lot of these drugs are coming in that way.
Yeah. And every time I talk to the DEA, the Coast Guard, Customs, some of our military officers are involved in our counter-drug efforts, they describe it like a balloon. And doesn't matter who you talk to, they'll use the balloon analogy. If you go in and you squeeze your ports, then what happens is they're going to come across the land.
Mm-hmm.
If you squeeze your airports, they're going to go through the naval ports, the ship ports. And so you really have to make a united front. You have to make sure you're securing all of these different approaches. And look, there's a supply side demand. You've got to approach it in all angles if we're truly going to solve these problems. But, you know, one of the things that the El Chapo trial really exposed is how these are multi-billion-dollar, multinational corporations that are operating entirely in illicit trade and illegal activities. It really is amazing how powerful, how extensive their networks are, and how they are going to find ways to find our weaknesses here.
Don't take this wrong, but it's somewhat impressive how they're able to get things done when we cannot.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Well, when you don't have a regulatory group. But, I mean, here's the whole thing. There was a time.
EPA regs,
Yeah. You know, there was a time when governments would allow us to come in and burn the poppy fields. They didn't have the resources to do it. They knew it was a problem. You know, we'd hold some of their foreign aid money back until they did that. Now it's fentanyl from China, our biggest trading partner. What's China going to do to help us end this?
Yeah, and
Exactly.
You know, China doesn't. I don't think they have quite the incentive, but I will say in these trade negotiations that are underway with China right now, China's economy is cracking, and I think that we do have a lot more leverage over them than the Chinese government suggests, and even through some of their economic numbers that the government's releasing suggest. I think their economy is in a lot worse condition than they're indicating right now.
I got a listener question here from Eric. It's a Second Amendment question. Wants to know about gun control legislation the Democrats have introduced that would take out a requirement for law enforcement or ICE to be notified if an illegal tries to purchase a gun.
Yeah,
You aware of that?
I am, and obviously we've got major problems with anything that would take away the ability of law enforcement to know.
So make it tougher for an American citizen to get a gun, but let's not notify law enforcement if an illegal tries to buy one.
Well, but here's the whole thing: they can't sell it to them anyway, so you've got to stop right there. So
no, but at least put them on the track if they've had contact with a guy. Then
and Kevin, to make it sort of add insult to injury, there's also a bill that we're probably going to be taking up in the near term that basically attempts to say that I can't, if we're out hunting together and your shotgun breaks and I want to lend you one of mine, I can't do that unless we first go through a background check.
Oh, please.
You can't loan me a gun without a background check?
And it would be illegal if someone's breaking into our house and I say, hey, the gun's in the drawer, and Bill, you run over and go grab it. It would be illegal for that
Okay,
to
that's
happen.
totally insane.
It really is.
Please tell me that doesn't have a hope in hell of passing.
No, actually, I think it's got a very good chance of passing the House. I don't think it has a chance in the world through the Senate.
Thank God for the Senate.
But,
never thought I'd say that out loud.
The number of times in the last couple of months that I've, sometimes you ask yourself, what country am I in? But the number of times I've asked myself in recent months, what planet am I on? I mean, just some of the crazy things that have come up. It really is amazing.
If you don't mind me asking, though, other than that, how are you getting along with the new Democrats in the House? Are they civil?
There are just like in any situation where there are a lot of people, you find people that you can work with. And look, this year we have passed 2 amendments, bipartisan amendments, working with Congressman Cedric Richmond on those. We passed a bipartisan transportation-related bill with a Democrat congressman from Rhode Island.
Yeah, read about that.
Passed a bipartisan kind of constituent services bill with Congressman Joe Kennedy out of Massachusetts, another Democrat. So look, we're working together with people. You just have to find those people you can work with on the issues you can work with, but they certainly have some people that have some very radical ideas.
It all finds its level eventually.
They're not all whack jobs.
They're not all whack jobs, but some of them do a really good imitation. Bernie, I'm running again. God help us all. I love Bernie. I love his puck. I really do.
Look, I just want to remind you, hurry up and get your airplane and car travel in because they're going to be eliminated in the next 10 years if you haven't.
Congressman Garret
Bernie will be eliminated in the next 10 years just by natural selection.
Hey, it's Kevin and Bill. I want to talk to you about our good friends at the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, the LA.